Okay, let's talk about migraine headache medication real quick because there's some nuance to this. So for about 30 years, we had the same migraine medications. The medications that we've been using for a long time include medicines like Topamax or topiramate, amitriptyline, and then the beta blocker medications like propranolol or atenolol. Those medications are all now generic and they're very inexpensive. But then about 3 years ago, there was a breakthrough in research, and subsequently just a bunch of really new, good migraine medications were produced. And so there's sort of a little game now that you have to play with insurance companies in order to get people on these newer medications. So let me go back to the older medicines for a while. The older medicines are good, but they have sometimes a lot of side effects, and they're not quite as efficacious as the newer medications. And so usually what we do is we talk about the older medications, we figure out the one that you might want to be on, and we start with those. Now, the way that this usually works is we try to talk to you again in about a month just to see how you're doing on the older medications, and if you aren't doing well, having side effects, or they're just not working, then that's when we start asking the insurance to cover some of the newer medications, which are really just way better. They're very low side effect profile, and they just work better in general. So I wanted to give you a heads up on this because it's a little bit of a weird situation on how we have to do these medicines. I would prefer everybody to just start on the ones that work amazing and have hardly any side effects, but that's kind of where we are in medicine right now with this whole situation. So let me kind of go through the ones that we usually start people off on. The first one is called Topamax. It's been around for about 30 or 40 years. It's not expensive. It's a once-a-day medicine. It's pretty effective as a migraine preventative medicine. So in other words, you'll take that every day to prevent migraine headaches. Some of the side effects that people talk about are kind of weird numbness or tingling, pins and needles around the mouth. Interestingly enough, if you eat or if you drink anything that's got carbonation in it, it kind of tastes funky. And then the other side effects sometimes is that sometimes people feel like it messes with their ability to recall names, kind of cognitive, kind of a blunting. But all that to say, I always start people out on the lowest possible dose of this medicine, and it's pretty rare for somebody to not be able to take it because of those reasons. The dose that we started off at is 25, and the dose where you really start having a lot of those symptoms is like 100 or 200. I don't ever put people on those doses. Sometimes the neurology people will, but we don't ever do that. So the other thing that you should know about Topamax, I actually use it a lot in people for weight loss. In fact, it's part of a medicine called Qsymia. It's one part of two medicines that are combined together to form a weight loss medicine. Phentermine and Topamax are the two medicines that are in that medicine. And so we use it all the time for people to help with weight loss. So I feel like I prescribe this medicine a lot, and just from practical experience with this medicine, doing a lot of that, most of the time people do fine with it. So, but anyway, just wanted to explain that medicine. The other one that we do is so the Topamax is every day and it's a prevention. The other one that we do is an abortive medicine, meaning if you're taking your Topamax every day and you still have a breakthrough headache, then you've got something else to reach for besides like ibuprofen or Aleve. And that medication is called Relpax. There's also a different version of that called Maxalt, but they're all pretty much the same thing. It's like if we were talking about ibuprofen or Motrin, or they're all kind of the same type of family of medicines, but we just sort of pick one, usually the one that's covered best by your insurance. These are all older medicines, so that's never a problem. But the way that these medicines work is if you're having a breakthrough headache, you'll reach for these, and they usually work within about 25 minutes. Again, this is sort of the older way to do this. The newer way, the medicines work quicker and they have less side effects. The knock on these older medicines like Relpax and Maxalt are that sometimes people just kind of feel zonked out. They just feel kind of sleepy, and people will come back and say, yeah, I mean, it worked for my headache, but I felt like I just had to lay down and I couldn't really function. I had to go home from work. So I think that's why a lot of these newer medicines were created, is there's just a big need for better migraine medicines. And like, for example, the newer medicines like Ubrelvy or Qulipta or Emgality, these medicines just have way less side effects, and they don't cause people to feel zonked out after they take them. So anyway, I know that was kind of a lot, but I wanted to give you a just kind of an overview of how all this really works behind the scenes and why we're doing what we're doing. And like I said, I usually check in with people in about a month, whether it be a formal visit or just a phone call. And that's when we say, okay, how are you doing on these older medicines? And if truly you're not doing well, they're not helping you with your headaches, or you're having any goofy side effects, then that sort of unlocks the door to these newer medicines. And we tell your insurance, we say, hey, we tried these older medicines, the cheaper ones, and just not really cutting it. And so then they say, okay, we'll approve the more modern, newer medicines that sometimes can be a little bit more expensive, but we handle that through these coupons that we get here. So anyway, thanks for listening.